What do you think of them?
This is why it's so nice to not have makeup on.
That is so beautiful.
No.
They're ridiculous.
No.
She never stops whining.
No.
Meghan Markle Googled, is the race card an actual card?
Slay the dragon, save the princess. I'm like, that's my husband.
Hey, I love your Luke.
Sorry, what's that?
Your Luke. You look amazing. Your Luke.
My Luke. My
Luke. My look. She likes my Luke.
Your voice is driving me crazy and I'm about to jump over there and put my fists down your throat.
She's allegedly wearing no makeup. Meanwhile, she's got like the perfect blowout. Like she's completely camera ready. And she also is pretending like she's crying. There isn't a tear in sight. It's an actor's trick.
I've never seen someone that struggles to just give us like one strip of authenticity.
I think the woke have been asleep.
Oh my gosh, I work so hard.
You're complaining about your hard life and you're so privileged. It's just so weird.
It's ridiculous.
I'm searching for something to like about her, and it's so hard.
Well, if Meghan and Harry can quit their family, you can too.
No.
Is Meghan Markle really the Duchess of Drama, or is she just playing the victim again?
Here's an email that I've been keeping for you.
I have full body chills right now.
This is why it's so nice to not have makeup on. Thank you. Yeah.
That is so beautiful.
No.
Did her tear-soaked podcast appearance actually help her image, or just make things worse? Because let's be honest, nothing felt real. And the host, Jamie Kern-Lima,
who seems to be even more fake and insufferable than the Duchess.
Both of them did come across like they haven't actually, been in touch with maybe someone who's worried about the price of eggs.
Very first question, because I think in friendship it's so important. And I think so many people also have this question for you is, Meghan, how are you? And are you okay?
That's so kind.
Yes, it really is that awful. I may have blacked out from smacking myself in the head.
She gave me the creeps. The way she kept praising Meghan like she was royalty reincarnated. It felt more like a fan club meeting than a real interview.
Dan, when you do interviews on your show, do you do the Jamie Kern-Lima reactions? Yes. Oh my God, there's something wrong with her.
And now let's dig into how the internet torched her Time magazine most influential moment. Prince Harry's BBC interview flop that made critics cringe. And all those insider whispers calling Meghan more narcissist than noble. Even when she talks about kids, she's still talking about herself.
For kids, that's fun. So many good songs. And I've become that mom where I'm like sitting around with friends and I start singing like, Tyrannosaurus, that's the chorus, Tyrannosaurus. I was like, what am I singing? Oh my gosh, I'm singing Storybox. I'm singing Storybox. I am not singing Beyonce in that.
Her Spotify deal got dumped, her Netflix show flopped, and she's on the verge of being tossed from the royal family. So maybe it's time she stops signing gifts as Her Royal Highness, because no one's buying it anymore.
40 minutes into the podcast, this little picture, quite a grainy picture, flashed up, which shows a basket of, homemade preserves with a card on it, HRH. Duchess of Sussex, Meghan.
You dropped off this gift basket with ice creams, homemade strawberry sauce to put on top of the ice cream.
I find it a little bit cringe to give a gift to a close friend and sign it Her Royal Highness.
Why even in private? She's using that full title, Her Royal Highness.
I would never refer to myself as Her Royal Highness.
They won't let me call myself Her Royal Highness anymore, but I'm going to put it all over my stationery and on the gifts that I give to my friends.
Meghan Markle's newest podcast was pitched as raw and real. No makeup, no script, just the Duchess of Sussex pouring out her heart. But let's be honest, it didn't feel real at all. In fact, the whole thing seemed carefully staged, like a PR stunt dressed up as vulnerability.
I just think she's crying for sympathy, playing the victim, when there's nothing to be a victim about, and there's also no sympathy to be granted for this lifestyle that she's chosen to live.
Katy Perry calling herself an astronaut felt more real than Meghan Markle pretending to be authentic. The podcast host, Jamie, is Meghan's friend, but let's be real, she spent the whole time kissing her ass. It was like a scripted fan letter, not an interview. In the end, we didn't learn anything, except how far Meghan's royal fakeness can go.
Work so hard. The moment that everything sells out, it doesn't mean that we're done. It means we're working on replenishment and what are the next SKUs and what's the next tranche of products and what's the timing on that and writing the newsletters and writing the social media captions and making sure that all that feels in line and what's the cadence of it. And
in this interview, she really goes on these tangents of talking about how stressful her day is. And when I was listening to it, I was thinking, no, that sounds like a normal day to me, Meghan.
Critics weren't buying it. Most saw it as a carefully planned move to push her As Ever lifestyle brand. Sure, everything sold out in 30 minutes, but that's the trick. There wasn't much product to begin with. It's a marketing game to make her look successful, even if the whole thing was built on smoke and mirrors.
It flopped really hard despite Spotify trying to push it, and they realized that these two don't really want to work, okay?
Happened to Spotify. The critics were horrible about With Love, Meghan. You sold inventory that you didn't have on asever.com. People are still waiting for their refund.
So when she's trying to sell these kind of, I'm sorry, but crappy, cheap tats to middle America, she needs to have this relatability, and she doesn't have that at all.
While people online are still complaining they haven't received their orders, and it's been nearly a month, Meghan's trademark filings for yoga mats and pet bowls only made things worse. Ex-users were quick to call it a desperate money grab.
She's trying to sell herself as this wholesome mother who's baking cookies and making tea for the rest of the family.
And this was one of the most every mother out there will understand. She wants us to put together a fruit crudité board for our children in the morning. Now, look, Maureen.
I can't.
Look at this.
I can't. She is doing a cooking show on Netflix. I only watched 5 seconds of it, and I thought she was going to cut her wrist by trying to zest a lemon. This girl has never been in the kitchen in her life.
I've honestly never seen a podcast where someone spends so much time bragging about how amazing their life is.
I don't like her.
That's what everybody says.
Yeah.
Everybody who works for her quits. Everybody says she's a bully. She's very nasty. Not only is she incredibly controlling, but she's a bitch about it to everybody who works for her. When things inevitably start spiraling downward, she blames everyone but herself.
No struggle, no honesty, just nonstop self-promotion. So the big question is she really bearing her soul or just acting her way through another episode of the Meghan Markle show?
They want it both ways. These people were so mean to us and poor us, and we don't want all this attention. And then let me write a book about how much we don't want attention.
Meghan, once again acting like the perfect mother, claims she writes emails to her 2 kids every single night. Yes, nightly emails to toddlers, if you can even believe that. It sounds less like parenting and more like a PR stunt. I mean, really, who does that? It's the kind of thing someone says when they want to look flawless, not honest.
Can you imagine being Archie or Lilibet and opening this inbox of 6,000 emails when you turn 18? No one wants that, not the children. And also it sets this really unrealistic expectation, which Meghan is so good at doing for other parents.
If I don't have meetings in the morning, then I try to do school drop-off. They're at 2 different schools. So from 6:30 in the morning on drop-off mornings for me, I'm not home till 9.
Her life is so hard because she has to do school drop-offs, and thank God that she's got a live-in nanny basically raising these 2 children.
The episode pulled in millions of streams, with clips blowing up on TikTok and Instagram, but not everyone was impressed. Host Jamie Kern-Lama called it raw, but most people weren't buying it. What made it even weirder was how hard Jaime pushed the point that Meghan hadn't seen any of the questions ahead of time. Like, why repeat that so much? It felt less like honesty and more like damage control before the internet could call it fake.
You haven't seen any of the questions ahead of time, and we're in our sweats, and you look the exact same with no makeup as makeup, and we're
that's very generous.
Like, seriously, why keep repeating that? Why even make it such a big point? Are you trying to convince the audience? Or just trying to convince yourself that this wasn't all scripted and fake from the start?
She's allegedly wearing no makeup. Meanwhile, she's got like the perfect blowout. Like she's completely camera ready. And she also is pretending that she's crying. There isn't a tear in sight. It's an actor's trick.
During promotion for Suits, she was joking with one of the photographers that she can cry on command. Left eye, go. And then you watch a tear fall down her face, and then she starts cackling because she's so proud of herself.
She has this really famous thing where she says 1 tap left eye and she can make herself cry on demand.
Either way, we still didn't buy it. The whole thing felt too perfect, too rehearsed. The Daily Mail's Alexander Larman called her tears a transparent attempt to stay relevant. And honestly, he's not wrong. Ex-users tore her apart, pointing out how polished everything looked. Like it was all part of a strategy, One even joked, even her tears have a PR team. And let's be honest, it didn't feel like a breakdown. It felt like a brand launch in disguise.
It's just another lie from Meghan where she's told us one thing about this wholesome family life that she's got, but really it's staff behind the scenes that are upholding this entire image for this woman.
Markle reported that critics saw her stories as overly self-centered, constantly circling back to her brand or her personal struggles. Like everything had to be about Meghan. The Express even cited royal insiders saying this sudden emotional switch-up won't fix her image. In fact, some believe it's just another performance, one more calculated move to stay in the headlines while pretending to be relatable.
They kind of f***ed up their whole thing, went way too hard on we're victims, and they assessed the mood of their generation and America correctly in that we are lovers of victimhood.
Yeah.
But America did finally find a way to say, you know what, we love victims, but you two, we've just had a little too much of it.
I mean, tone deaf could be Meghan Markle's middle name.
Meghan's big moment at the Time 100 Summit quickly drew sharp backlash. Honestly, I still can't decide who comes off more fake in these staged interviews, Blake Lively with her forced charm, or Meghan Markle with her royal victim act. Either way, the whole thing felt painfully rehearsed.
She didn't make the Times list of cool people, but she did get invited there because her agency probably bought her access. This is one of the goofiest things ever.
Because I think it speaks to the tiny moments of joy that are so effortless and just create a little bit of magic that we're all craving.
What in the hell word salad is this?
Tiny little flower petals that are dried. I started putting them on salads. I started putting them on scrambled eggs. Level of charm that you find people have when they see these tiny little dried petals is something I can't fully wrap my head around, but I appreciate.
I'm elevating it by putting dried flower petals on all of my food.
Her Time Summit speech, even though she didn't make the 2025 list, only brought more backlash. Ex-users called her inclusion ridiculous, pointing to the fact that her business is tanking. She sells jam, honey, and cupcake sprinkles, not exactly changing the world. Who does she think she is? Gayle King? Now that's a real woman who made history. She literally went to space. Meanwhile, GB News quoted critics calling Meghan a self-promoter who leans on royal titles for relevance. And with her so-called influence under fire, Time's nod feels less like a crown and more like a PR favor.
She married for money. It's very clear she bagged the elephant. She was thrilled she became a, quote, princess.
I mean, Meghan did claim that before dating Harry, she never Googled him, and she said she didn't know much about the royal family.
It was planned from the beginning. I know someone who knows the ex-husband who said she had a vision board with Prince Harry on it.
Before they met?
Yes.
Prince Harry's recent BBC interview, where he took aim at King Charles for ignoring his security worries after losing a court appeal, sparked major backlash. Critics didn't hold back, calling it yet another tone-deaf moment from a prince who seems more focused on blame than reality.
He lost at the trial court level on this push to make the British royal family pay for his security when he goes to the UK.
Once they realise that myself, my wife, and our kids are happier outside of the institution, please just look at the fact. Look at the risks, look at the threat, look at the impact that if anything was to happen to me, my wife, or my father's grandchildren, look where the responsibility lies.
What a manipulation. My father's grandchildren. They're going to and it will be his fault.
It's gaslighting on a grand scale.
The Daily Mail's Sarah Vine slammed Harry's somber tone as pure self-pity, accusing him of using King Charles's cancer diagnosis for sympathy. ITV News said palace insiders found his comments in shockingly poor taste, while the Mirror reported Charles doesn't even trust him anymore, worried that every private chat might end up in a Netflix special. Ex-users didn't hold back either, calling Harry spoiled, dramatic, and one even calling the whole thing a royal pity party.
But as soon as Meghan Markle made it absolutely clear that it was all about the moolah, it was all about the big bucks, it was all about trading off the royal name, but she was lining up these deals when she was still the Duchess of Sussex. She was in talks with Disney, she was in talks with the publishing companies, in talks with Netflix. At that point, the late Queen Elizabeth II, quite rightly, in my opinion, said, no, there is no half in, half out. So you can go, you go with our blessing, but you lose everything.
The overall reaction paints Harry's interview as one big exaggerated complaint, only making the royal rift even worse. Not to mention all the ongoing chatter that Meghan hates the royal family and was the one who actually pushed everyone apart. Some say she didn't just cause tension, she blew the whole thing up on purpose.
But I have zero sympathy for him. The fact that he is putting his father through this in the final years of his life. And Meghan, there are members of the royal family who believe that Harry's behavior hastened the death of the late Queen Elizabeth II.
I believe that too. That's what I say. I say those two killed the Queen.
Megyn Kelly flat out called Meghan a malignant narcissist. The Telegraph's Celia Walden described her podcast as nothing more than a self-focused therapy session. Even Page Six reported that big brands like Goop are rejecting Meghan's pitch to become a lifestyle guru because she's just too polarizing. And honestly, they're not wrong.
Thank you for trusting me with your first ever podcast and with your friendship.
Yeah.
It
means a lot, Jamie. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm a very accepting person. Truly, I want to like something about her. I'm searching for something to like about her, and it's so hard.
Every time she sheds a tear, it feels like a sales pitch. Critics say it's not real vulnerability. It's rehearsed, overproduced, and painfully fake. She's not opening up, she's acting. And the worst part? People are starting to see right through it.
And this podcast with Jamie Kern-Lima was absolutely car crash. I mean, Jamie Kern-Lima is actually a very successful woman, self-made billionaire. However, she is a fame whore because, she first found fame by appearing on the first series of Big Brother. She believes that she's the new Oprah Winfrey. And the problem is, you realize these are the types of people Meghan Markle is surrounding herself with. And none of them are prepared to ever give her a dose of reality.
She agreed with every single thing Meghan said, like a true yes man with zero backbone. It didn't feel like an interview. It felt like fan fiction. The Independent's Roy Sean Lanigan even said Jamie Kern-Lima's nonstop gushing made the whole episode feel more like an infomercial than a real conversation. It was less authentic moment and more paid promotion of Meghan's image.
Usually when we're together, we're in our cozy sweats and no makeup. So that's how we are today. No one's picked up my book proposal yet.
Yes.
I haven't found my soulmate yet. Everything is yet.
The power of yet.
The power of yet. Yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yet.
But I'm happy. And the kids are healthy and H is great. But I'm trying to also enjoy these big wins right now.
Yes.
Enjoy them.
Ex-users pointed out that this wasn't a real conversation. It was a full-on Meghan hype session. The host sold her company for $1 billion, so let's be clear, she's no amateur. She actually knows how to build something real, way more than Meghan ever has. And yet, instead of sharing anything useful or honest, she spent the whole hour acting like Meghan walks on water. I didn't learn a single thing, except how far someone will go to protect a fake image.
Yeah, she's a princess too, and Harry is slaying dragons to rescue her.
Look what we built. We've built a beautiful life, and we have 2 healthy, beautiful children. And I always think about it like the end of Super Mario Brothers when you get to the final level. And what's the goal in Super Mario? They're like, slay the dragon, save the princess. I'm like, that's my husband.
Who is Harry rescuing her from? The family she abandoned before making him abandon his?
Meghan's podcast tears and Harry's dramatic BBC outburst are stirring the same big question. Are they telling the truth or just putting on another show? From Time's suspicious influential award to behind-the-scenes staffers spilling stories about Meghan's explosive temper, it's getting harder to tell where the real people end and the PR performance begins.
Meghan has always said that, she's got lots of staff around her, and we've heard lots of complaints from lots of people that have worked for Meghan.
Critics say they're a narcissistic duo, constantly exaggerating their problems just to gain sympathy. Supporters, of course, call them misunderstood. But the internet? It's not buying it. Most people now believe the so-called Duchess of Drama and her prince are more focused on building a brand than telling the truth. Is any of this real, or just one long performance for clicks and cash? Honestly, who knows?